You can measure the size of an elephant. You can clock the speed of a cheetah, but you can't quantify the heart of a kings, queens, and in-betweens. Welcome to Dr. Boxing Talk. Stream starts now.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, 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 yo. What it do, what it do, what it do. Good, great, grand night to y'all wonderful, beautiful people, man. And women. Brethren and sisters and boys and girls. Hermanos, mi hermanas. Kings and queens. And everything in between. Y'all know what time it is. The doctor's in the house. All right, man. So we have a couple things to chat about. Not too much, it's pretty slow. It's going to be a little slow for a little bit. There's a lot of announcements and stuff like that. But as far as some news, it's going to be a little on the slow end. That's why you're going to see a lot of people conjuring up some stories and stuff like that, man. A lot of stories that have that are lacking a lot of substance, man. But shout out to the real ones, keeping boxing popping and keeping it alive. Let's hit this roll call real quick before we get into it. Shout out to my brother Ty Morissette in the building. We got Joaquin Arazola in the building. What it do? Before we get started as well, we got to start off with our prayer. So we got to kick it off with our prayer. So let's go ahead and do that. Please join me and bow your heads. And yeah, give glory to the Most High. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your blessings. We thank you for leading us into this day, giving us another opportunity to be thankful, be grateful, and give you the glory. And Lord, we pray for your continued protection and direction and correction when we mess up, Lord, and your continued forgiveness. We ask that anybody that's going through hard times and can't see their way out, that you give them, you sheath them with your everlasting love and presence, and let them know that if they're alive and breathing, that their story's not over. So no matter how low we go, we can always grow, especially if we put you first, Lord. So we thank you for our loved ones. We thank you for all our blessings that we overlook, from the roof of our head to food on our plate to our transportation that we have access to, and just anything, anything that we look over, Lord. So we thank you for your blessings, and we give you all the glory, and we ask for your continued forgiveness. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's get it, man. Shout out to Joaquin, man. He said Moses about to split something. Oh Lord, Moses about to split something. He might, man. And that's what I've been thinking, like sometimes, when this fight was called, I'm gonna be honest. When this fight was first announced, I was like, I'm not trying to see Moses Itauma versus Dillian Whyte. No disrespect to Dillian Whyte, but I just can't help but get the image out of my head of his last fight. And his last showing was against Ebenezer Teta. And let's be honest, right? He struggled with him. And not only did he struggle with him, you could kind of argue that the referee kind of saved him. Not saved him because he was like losing or looking bad. Well, he was looking bad. They're both looking bad. But, the referee kind of stopped it a little prematurely. And if you remember, right, Ebenezer Teta was doing a little dance and acting like he was sparring and throwing some punches. Now, he should have been throwing those punches that he was doing when he was shadowboxing. He should have been throwing them punches against Dillian Whyte, and he probably wouldn't have got stopped. But at the end of the day, it's still, even though I'm not mad at it because the fight wasn't that exciting, it still remains that it wasn't impressive for Dillian Whyte. Now, I will say this, though. The shining light for Dillian is that he did not look like he was in shape, right? He looks more in shape this time around. He looks in very good shape, and he's really disappointed in how, I guess, the media's treating him. He feels like they're kind of dogging him and making him seem like he's an old guy. And I mean, he is the veteran, especially when you talk about fighting a 20-year-old up-and-coming prospect like Moses Itauma. But I do think people are writing him off, and this is good that he's taking it to heart, because hopefully we'll see a motivated Dillian Whyte, and at least we see him losing weight, and being conditioned. That's a good sign of being motivated. Now, I just don't know. We won't know how serious he's taking it until he actually gets to the ring. But as far as conditioning, I feel like that's always a good sign. Whenever the fighter is in good shape, that means that he's at least doing the road work. And a lot of times, running and conditioning is probably the most boring part. Everybody wants to spar. Everybody wants to throw punches. Everybody wants to knock people out. But do they want to run? Do you want to jump rope? Do you want to do push-ups? Do you want to do the conditioning? Do you want to, run that extra mile, do that extra lap, And so he's in good conditioning. So that's always a plus. So me watching the build up, like I always do, watching the face-offs, watching the press conference today, it just makes me more intrigued, man. It seems like Dillian Whyte is going to come with it, and I don't mean he's going to win. I still have Moses Itauma winning, but I do think that it's going to be exciting. And sometimes I get mad at myself because I get so caught up just because I love boxing so much. Now I'm really intrigued into the fight. So, but I think he has a chance to win, because on the flip side, Moses Itauma is young. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to smack that like button. Moses Itauma is young. He's been looking great, right? But he's been looking great against people that he's supposed to, and shout out to him for handling the business, because you always got to clap it up for that, especially in the heavyweight division, when one punch could change how the fight goes. But I have to be clear that, I'll be remiss if I don't mention that a lot of his opponents, all of his opponents, they had no business beating him anyway, so you got to take that into account. Yes, I could applaud him for looking good, but at the same time, I could also keep in mind that, and don't act oblivious to the fact that he's been looking good against guys he's supposed to. So, like Dempsey McKean's probably his best win, and he stopped him in like 1 round or 2 rounds. And then his last win was against Mike Balogan, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he was a former NFL player, man. He's on the wrong field, literally in the wrong field. He's supposed to be on the NFL field. He in the boxer ring. But, shout out to him. Like I said, Moses Itauma did his thing. I do like this as a step up. To me, it's still a step up. But if you're going to step up and fight a veteran, I'd have preferred him to step up and fight like, I don't know. I'd have been, like, I'm trying to think of a veteran. Like maybe like a Efe Ajagba. Because you got to remember, and the reason why I say that, right? He doesn't have to. He could fight Dillian Whyte. But when you're talking about Frank Warren, who's your promoter, talking about he could fight Usyk, well, then, okay, then if you think he can handle Usyk, which I don't think he can, but if he can, then, okay, then I'm going to need him against Efe Ajagba, Martin Bacoli, Joseph Parker, and somebody, Fabio Worthy, Justice. I'd be cool. Fabio Worthy's not a veteran, but I'd be cool with him fighting even like a Richard Torres Jr., or even like a Frazier Clark. I know Dillian Whyte's more accomplished than these people, but the current iteration that we're seeing of Dillian Whyte, I don't know if the wolf is going to howl again, man, but hopefully he will, and then I'm trying to think of the other people on that card. So I have Moses Itauma beating Dillian Whyte. I would say like within 5 rounds. That's my prediction for the main event. We have Ray Ford versus Abram Nova. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm kind of going for Abram Nova in this one. And it's not that I don't like Ray Savage Ford. I like him, but when I see Abram Nova fight, man, I feel like he always gives his all, and he's been on the short end of some bad decisions. Like, I don't mind him losing to Shock Foster. That was a good fight, could have went I'll say it could have went either way. I thought the right person won, but I definitely think he got robbed against Andres Cortez. He definitely got robbed, and he outboxed him, you know. So him stepping up against Ray Ford, I commend him, but I have Ray Ford winning. But I'm kind of rooting for Abram Nova. I will let you know on the night of the fight. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those where I might flip-flop a little bit. But I think right now, at least at the press conference, I was kind of rooting for Abram Nova. But I think Ray Savage Ford is going to handle the business. But with Ray Ford, it's like, sometimes I just want him to do a little more. It feels like he could do a little more. Like, you know, he looks good like against Thomas Matisse, but it seems like he could do like little fundamental things a little bit better, like cut off the ring, like going that extra gear and stopping some of these people. Like I said, you don't have to always stop people, but you know, it just seems like sometimes it's just something is just not there with Ray Ford, you know, to put him over the hump. But I think he's going to handle business, but I want to focus on this, man, and shame on me. But I must say that I can't get out of my mind that this is yet again Anthony Kakassi's second fight in a row consecutively where he backs out and we just let him wiggle out of there. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to fight Sugar Nunez. We let that slide because he said he wants to go for the more lucrative route as far as monetary compensation goes, and he fought Lee Wood. Cool, whatever. So he gave up the belt. He vacated the IBF belt. Sugar Nunez was his mandatory. Sugar Nunez ended up winning and getting the vacant belt, right? Cool. But then you're supposed to fight Ray Ford next. And then now you back out of there. Now Abram Nova, salute to him. That's why I respect him, because he took the fight on late notice against Ray Ford. A lot of people don't really want to fight Ray Ford. And Anthony Kakassi, he was able to wiggle up out of there. And nobody noticed. You see what I'm saying? So, like, who does Anthony Kakassi really want to fight? You know, it's just so funny to me. I can't help but feel, not even feel, I know. I can't help but know that if this was another fighter pulling an Anthony Kakassi move back to back, oh, they would destroy him. But it's like people don't even notice. It's like, it's okay. I don't, at this point, you know, I don't even care if it's injury. I don't care what the reason is. Like, this should be talked about. You feel me? A little bit more. So I'm more so disappointed in Anthony Kakassi. And I'm going to tell you why I'm more disappointed, because Ray Ford versus Anthony Kakassi was a fight that I was looking forward to the most on this card. I actually thought that was the only fight that was really worth something. You know what I'm saying? Now, no disrespect to Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte or Philip Hrgovic and David Adeleye, which we'll get to later. I'm not really interested in those fights, or wasn't. You know, I'm interested more now in Moses Itauma to see what he does with the young upstart, see what he does against Dillian Whyte. But as I was really looking forward to Anthony Kakassi and Ray Ford, and now he backed out. Abram Nova is a good replacement, but like I said, given the circumstances and given the history of Abram Nova, you know, he coming on the short end of close decisions, and then also taking this fight on short notice, I feel like he's gonna get I don't know if he's gonna get stopped, because once again, like I said, Ray Ford doesn't really put the nail in the coffin. He doesn't really put things away, but I think Ray Ford's gonna win this one pretty handily, you know, decisively. Now, going to the next fight, right? We have what's his name? Philip Hrgovic and David Adeleye. I'm not really interested in this fight either, but it is interesting. I'm gonna tell you why it's interesting, because the winner could potentially be in a good position to fight Joseph Parker. And why I say that is because, you know, the WBO rankings, the top 5 are all Queensberry fighters. You know, Frank Warren has a stronghold on the Queensberry fighters right now, on the heavyweight division right now, you know, and we have Moses Itauma going against Dillian Whyte. Both of them are Queensberry fighters. We have Philip Hrgovic going against David Adeleye. Both of them Queensberry associated fighters. We have Daniel Dubois still on Queensberry. You see what I'm saying? So it seems like all the major heavyweights besides Usyk, AJ, and Wilder, and some other people like Bacoli and F.A. Jogba and guys like that. But it seems like everybody else is on Queensberry. You see what I'm saying? Even Fabio Wardley and guys like that. So I think that if the scenario comes where, you know, the WBO has ordered the fight between Usyk and Parker, if Usyk doesn't really want to fight Parker, which I don't blame him if he's not really excited to fight Parker. I mean, who could blame him? I don't, like, Parker deserves the fight, don't get me wrong, based on his position and merit, and, you know, he's on a nice 3-fight win streak, which I think is kind of, I don't want to say fraudulent, but very suspicious, right? All of his wins should have an asterisk on it, at least his last 3, right? He fought a Deontay Wilder who's just shown himself, old, he's like 38 years old, 39 years old, 49 fights, you know what I'm saying, at this time, right? When he fought Joseph Parker, he's like 47 fights, 47 fights in, he was 38 years old, so he was old and broken down from his wars with Tyson Fury and some, you know, some other things, right? He was just showing himself. Shout out to Joseph Parker. It's a good name to add on your record, you know, add to your resume, right? but it's not really that impressive, right? He didn't stop him or do anything, and Deontay Wilder didn't like he even wanted to be there. Then he fought a 42-year-old Zhang and he got dropped twice in the process. You know, he won by majority decision. Then Ajit Caballel, who's legit, came and made short work of him in like 5 or 6 rounds, right? So that didn't really age well. And then he fought Martin Bakole on a little bit more than 24 hours notice. You see what I'm saying? You saw the conditioning that Martin Bakole was in. He wasn't even on the same continent as his trainer, Billy Nelson. Billy Nelson was in his home land of Scotland or something, and Martin Bakole was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ain't throw a punch since he fought Jared Anderson, according to him and his trainer. So how much can we really give him for those fights? He handled business, but it was all, like I said, they deserve an asterisk by him. But still, he's the interim WBO champion. He deserves a fight. However, that doesn't mean that I have to be intrigued by it, and I'm not intrigued by it. I don't think he has a chance against Usyk, you know, outside of a heavyweights puncher's chance. But I don't think if Usyk doesn't want to fight him, I don't think it does anything to his legacy, whether he fights him or not. So I could imagine Usyk maybe vacating the WBO belt, but he's injured right now, so he asked for an extension, according to Frank Warren, in an interview that Frank Warren gave with, I believe, Sky Sports. I saw it today. Alexander Usyk is apparently injured, right? So he asked for an extension. I think the WBO will grant it, but if they don't, then that belt will be vacated and Joseph Parker will be elevated. And now the number one guy is Moses Itauma. But if Moses Itauma wins, we could see Joseph Parker defending his WBO belt against Moses Itauma, both Queensberry guys. And even if Dillian Whyte wins, he's a Queensberry guy, he could fight Joseph Parker. And then Philip Hrgovic and David Adeleye, they both Queensberry guys. Philip Hrgovic could fight Joseph Parker. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy part about this is if Moses Itauma wins, he's ranked number 1. He could fight. He's still ranked number 1. He fight Joseph Parker for WBO. And then if Dillian Whyte wins, we could get Joseph Parker versus Dillian Whyte, and Joseph Parker has the opportunity to avenge one of his 3 losses. You know, because he lost to Dillian Whyte, AJ, and who got stopped by Joe Joyce. He could potentially defend his title against a guy and potentially avenge his one of his losses to Dillian Whyte. So, you know, it's there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot of it's in Frank Warren's favor, I'll tell you that. So whether Usyk fights him or not, I could even argue that Frank Warren may not even want Usyk to fight Joseph Parker. He might want him to. It might be in his best interest for Usyk to vacate anyway. You see what I'm saying? So there's that. Shout out to my brother Kendrick in the building. So there is that. But yeah, like I said, this card has me more intrigued right now, but I'm not too excited. But what I am excited to talk about is that, what I was going to say, there's a potential heavyweight fight that may be back on. Check this out. According to Michael Hunter, this is what he just posted today on his YouTube, on his Instagram. Michael Hunter may be saying that Jarrell Big Baby Miller and his fight is back on the undercard of Cinnamon and Bud. Now, that's very interesting because, as you know, what we announced earlier this week was that a couple days ago was that Don King, you know, he said, hey, man, he vetoed that thing. He said, hey, man, Michael Hunter can't fight Jarrell Big Baby Miller because he's my fighter and he's under contract with me. Well, there's been a lot of back and forth. I've been keeping up with it. And Michael Hunter, as well as Blair the Flair Cobbs, as well as Adrian Broner, who are also announced on the card between Michael Hunter and Kubrat Pulev, they said that, hey, man, we're not under contract with Don King. He hasn't been in communication with us at all. So according to Michael Hunter, you know, he's filed a motion that he could do whatever he wants. So we'll see how it goes. So for now, it seems like Don King stopped the fight, but it could be back on. So we'll see, man. I'm going to keep y'all posted with that one, man. So I'm not sure if it's back on, but according to Michael Hunter, it's back on, and we could still see Michael Hunter versus Jarrell Big Baby Miller. But I wouldn't be mad, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be mad at Michael Hunter versus Kubrat Pulev. I mean, he's a regular WBA champion, if I'm not mistaken. That'd be a decent fight. You know, I'd have Hunter winning that fight. I think stylistically, Hunter could beat Miller, but I think that's a tougher fight because Miller's younger, you know, former PED popper, so you never know how he's coming with it. But, you know, I think stylistically, the style contrast between them is very good. But I know they're friends too, and I thought, you know, I don't know how interesting that's going to be. It might not be more than a sparring session. Shout out to Kendrick. He said, Don always wins. He got to get his pockets lined up. Hey, that's what I'm saying. So, and even if it does happen, then maybe it's because Don King got in on the deal, and he should be in on the deal. If what he's saying is true and that's his fighter, then you got to respect the contracts, man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm pretty sure that if he does have a legitimate contract, you know, I'm not saying he's the most savory of people. He might be unsavory, you know, but at the same time, you know, you wouldn't just snatch up a top-ranked fighter without cutting Bob into the deal. You wouldn't snatch up a matchroom fighter without cutting Eddie Hearn into the deal, or a boxer fighter without Ben Shalom, or a Queensberry fighter without Frank Warren, or PBC Al Heyman. Golden Shower Promotions, Oscar De La Fishnets. You know what I'm saying? So if those are Don King's fighters or he has some type of contractual ties, then yeah, he needs to be cut in on the deal. He needs to be informed about it. They have to get his consent. So I'm not really mad about it. I don't really know the issue. I know a lot of people on the surface look like Don King's just hating and stopping a good fight, but hey man, you got contracts for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Contractual obligation. So it might be obligatory for Don King to be in. And if it is, then Big Turk or anybody else, you know, Sella or Zuffa Boxing, whatever it is, they shouldn't be able to just cut somebody out. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's disrespectful, you know? So shout out to Don King if he's doing something for him that he has a right to. But then if he's doing something wrong, he's just hating. Then shout out to Michael Hunter for making sure that it's known. So we'll see how it goes, man. I'm going to keep y'all posted. But moving on, man. Moving on a little bit. Keith Thurman and Sebastian Fundora. It's been announced, man. Keith one-time Thurman, sometime Thurman, no-time Thurman will be fighting Sebastian Fundora. And I think this is a good fight at 154, man. I don't know. I would lean towards Sebastian Fundora. Now, I will say this. They have a date for it, October 18th, so it looks legit. But I don't know, man. I don't trust Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman been talking hot. And, you know, we had rumors about him being tied with Virgil Ortiz. That not happening. You know, we had rumors back in the day with him tied to Errol Spence. That didn't happen. Terrence Bud Crawford, that didn't happen. And he's been talking big stuff about fighting Boots and, you know, calling out everybody Errol Spence now. And then he was tied with Virgil Ortiz through rumors. Now he's fighting Sebastian Fundora. I think Sebastian Fundora makes more sense because while Virgil Ortiz is a WBC interim champion, Sebastian Fundora is a full champion. So you want to go for the full champion, you know what I'm saying? So if that's the deal, then that's the deal. And I kind of like Fundora, man. I'm leaning towards Fundora, but I'm not sold that Keith Thurman is gonna actually take this fight. We'll see how it goes. It has been reported, you know what I'm saying? It seems pretty legitimate, you know what I'm saying, on the media outlets and the sources I'm seeing, but I'm just not sold, man. So we'll see if yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. Hey, now we got to look at Ortiz funny because who is his opponent going to be? Yeah, I mean, we got to, right? We've been talking about it. Yeah, shout out to Kendrick, man. I mean, it's, you know, certain fighters, man, they get away with, I don't know, without questions. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes, bro. I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure, bro. But I don't want to call Virgil Ortiz a duck because, like I said, I don't know how substantiated those rumors were. It was circulating a little bit, but I don't know the ins and outs. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be fair too. Keith Thurman is affiliated. He's the PBC fighter, right? Virgil Ortiz is not. So with Fundora and Keith Thurman fighting, that's a PBC on PBC. So that's an easier fight to facilitate. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to say Virgil Ortiz is ducking or Keith Thurman is. I don't know for sure, but it looks bad on Keith Thurman's end. In my opinion, Virgil Ortiz, I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. You know, I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. I think Sebastian Fundora. I'm gonna give, like I said, I'm gonna give Keith Thurman a pass too. Just historically speaking, it looks bad on Keith Thurman, but I'm gonna give him a pass because I don't think Sebastian Fundora is necessarily an easier fight than Virgil Ortiz. I don't think it's an easier fight. So I'll definitely give Keith Thurman a pass, especially because it's for a belt. So, you know, I think you should prioritize the belts. I'm not mad at Keith Thurman for doing that. Now, Virgil Ortiz, if you want to say he looked a little shaky, like I said, I don't really know what the deal is. So, but yeah, Virgil Ortiz, you know, he's getting a pass too lately. So we'll see. I don't know who he's gonna fight next, but it better be somebody good for sure. Like you said, Kendrick, it has to be somebody good. Shout out to Mr. Grady. He said he's rooting for Thurman. To be honest, I don't really care who wins, Fundora and Thurman. I think Fundora would win, but who am I rooting for? I don't really have anybody I'm rooting for. I can care less who wins, to be honest. I feel like Keith was capping. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, Ty. I feel like Keith. You know me though. Anyway, I'm not too big of a fan, and Keith, it hurts my heart because Keith Thurman's a fellow Floridian, man, he's Florida boy. So I like to root for the Florida boys, but I don't really be feeling Keith as much lately, man. Don't forget to smack that like button. But yeah, I will say this though too. You know, I will say this about Keith Thurman. You know, if Keith Thurman is fighting Fundora, that'd be interesting, man, because, you know, like you said, who's Virgil going to fight? But we seen Keith Thurman pull out of the Tim Tszyu fight because he tore his bicep, right? So, you know, like I said, I'm not necessarily saying that I doubt it's going to happen because somebody's ducking. I'm just not sure because somebody could get injured. Everybody could get injured, but, you know, some people are a little bit more prone to get out of big fights, you know. So we'll see how it goes, though, man. I'm just not completely sold. And Errol Spence, you know, when it was announced that Virgil Ortiz and Keith Thurman was off, you know, he kind of put a little slick response. You just put like a smiley face. You can interpret it as you want, or a laughing face. You can interpret that as you want. I think he was more so saying that he wasn't surprised, or maybe he was laughing that it was fake news that Keith Thurman and Virgil Ortiz weren't going to fight anyway. And he knew the Keith Thurman and Fundora was getting cooked up because he's a PBC fighter as well. So I'm not sure what it meant. I know a lot of people are interpreting that how they want. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. Remember my 6-month theory. Virgil could get his shot early next year at Boots too. Then the unification is built. Yeah, but who's Virgil going to fight? Like you said, you know. I mean, if we're talking trash about Keith fighting, not Keith, sorry. If we're talking trash about Boots fighting Weizma Lima, then Keith Thurman has to fight somebody at least comparable, right? I mean, that's just fair, right? You know, he has to fight somebody at least comparable. So I don't know who that is. He already fought Boachuk, shot him. He already fought Israel Madrimov, shot to him. I mean, who's he? Maybe he could fight an Ardra Hones or Cordell Booker. I don't know who he could fight, you know. But it has to be somebody at least as good as Weizma Lima. Maybe he could fight Josh Kelly. Maybe he could fight Rashidi Ellis. I don't know. But either way, I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't really care who Boots fights or Virgil Ortiz fights. If, emphasis on the if they end up fighting each other early next year, like the alleged plan is, according to Eddie Hearn, I don't care who they really fight, man. I like to see these fighters fight. So he said, remember, yeah, I read that already. Pillow says Boots fighting cab drivers again. I mean, if you call a guy that's 14-1 a cab driver, then I mean, what do you call Virgil Ortiz fighting Frederick Lawson and Thomas Delorme? So you call it whatever you want, man. I'll be disrespectful with when it comes to talk about these fighters. Weizma Lima is an IBO champion. I say the IBO is big, but is big enough to not be a cab driver and to be 14-1. You know, he just beat a guy though. I just watched that fight. I was doing my research on Weizma Lima now. And you know what's crazy? I actually saw Weizma Lima fight before. I don't know on what undercard it was, but he fought that undefeated guy. I believe the guy was out of India. I'm not sure, but the name, remember, because I remember not making fun of it, but I remember making a comment about the guy's name. Remember his name's like Bati or something like that, and his first name's like Suckum Bati or something. What's his name again? His name's like Suckum Bati or something like that. I was like, yo, what kind of name? This man's name is crazy. I remember he lost that fight. So I was doing some research on it, on Weizma Lima today, just to catch up. And I see what you talk about, Kendrick, but I think he's a better fight than what we think, man. Suck Deep. His name is Suck Deep, not Suck Me. I said Suck Me. His name is Suck Deep Bati. I said, hey, yo, y'all, I don't remember what undercard that was on, man. But yeah, I've seen them fight. So I don't remember what undercard that was. But yeah, man. So I saw Weizma Lima fight before, man. They not fight early next year, maybe summer. It don't matter when they fight. As long as they fighting next year, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It does. I'm not gonna say they're not fighting next year. I don't know if they're fighting. I mean, how do you know they're not fighting early next year? I don't know if they're fighting early next year. Like I said, I'm doubtful about them fighting until they actually fight anyway. But according to Eddie Hearn, it's January, February next year. Now, will that actually happen or play out that way? I don't know. But I'm not gonna say. I agree with you that it's more likely, especially, I'm going to tell you why, especially, because if Boots is going to get 2 fights like they want, then it could be next year. But according to Eddie Hearn said, hey, man, that fight is next. As long as Virgil Ortiz wins in his October fight, if he has a fight in October, actually, if that comes into fruition, and Boots wins against Weizma Lima, Eddie Hearn says that they signed their side to fight in early next year. So, but even if it's not early, to your point, let's say they do fight late next year or summer next year, mid next year. I don't care. I don't care if it's mid next year, late next year, early next year. As long as they fight, and if they're really gonna fight, I don't really care, man. You know, I like fighters to stay active, and if that means that they're not fighting a big name immediately or the imminent future, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I like to apply the same type of grace that we applied to Naoya Inoue. Naoya Inoue fought 3 guys that weren't shit. No disrespect to Yi Jun Kim. That's disrespectful. I said they weren't shit. He fought 3 guys that were subpar. They weren't on his level. They definitely weren't undisputed level. Definitely weren't championship level. He fought Yi Jun Kim. Nobody said nothing. He fought TJ Doheny. Nobody said nothing. He fought Ramon Cardenas. He said it wouldn't make sense to me given Boots potentially getting a title shot and Ortiz potentially get one too. Now I disagree. I disagree. Because I think it makes sense. I don't think that I agree with you from a title shot standpoint, because if Boots could get a title shot and Virgil Ortiz could get a title shot. But if you remember, let's look at the title shots, right? So this is why I agree with you. But first of all, the reason why I disagree with you, I agree with you that it wouldn't make sense if you talk about from a belt standpoint. But I don't think these guys need belts for this fight. I think this fight is already big enough. So that's why I disagree with you. But I do agree with you from that point. It makes sense. But look, let's look, right? WBC interim champ is Virgil Ortiz. So you think Virgil Ortiz will fight the winner of Sebastian Fundora, Keith Thurman for a title? And then let's say, excuse me, Draw Boots is here, right? The WBA. This could be right. You're right. But Jonas Tellis is about to fight Abbas Barral. You think the winner of that's going to fight Drawn Ennis? That could be true. You could be right. But like I said, I'm going off of what Eddie Hearn said. You know, now things could change. So you're right. So if Virgil Ortiz could somehow get the WBC belt and Boots could get the WBA belt, yeah. But I don't know if I'm Virgil Ortiz and I'm what's his name? Golden Boy. You think that's worth it? I don't think Sebastian Fundora is an easy fight for Virgil. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Virgil can win, but I don't think that's an easy fight. So I don't know if that's even worth the risk because I'm gonna be honest. I think that Virgil Ortiz versus Boots is a bigger fight, belt or not, than Virgil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora. And then you mess around and lose to Sebastian Fundora? Oh, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's even worth it. But you, like I said, from a belt standpoint, I agree with you 1,000%. But from what the fight could be, I'm not sure if that's worth the risk, you know. But of course, hey, if you win, then it'll be worth the risk because you'll be a WBA belt versus WBC belt if Terrence Crawford vacates, which I'm sure he will, and Boots could fight the winner of Jonas Tellis and the Bass Barral, which is happening in 2 weeks or next week. So yeah, man. I mean, it could work, bro. It could work. It could work, but I don't know. I don't know if that's worth the risk. But speaking of next week, man, shout out to Kendrick. Speaking of next week, man, I have a big announcement, man. You know, I have a big announcement, man. Hey, chat, bro. I just want to thank y'all, man, from the bottom of my heart. First off, I want to thank God. First and foremost, you know, we got to give God the glory. But second of all, I want to thank y'all, man. I want to thank y'all, and I thank God for y'all because the support I get is dope, man. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we want to grow. Of course, we want to take bigger steps. We want to progress. But, you know, everything, that's part of the journey, man. I love to get it out the mud, man. That's what, hey, I ain't scared of hard work. I ain't scared of putting the work, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I work hard for everything I have, you know, and I thank God for that. God give me the strength and the perseverance and the dedication to and the consistency, you know what I'm saying, to be consistent. But y'all really help me be consistent by the love and support I get. So I want to tell y'all this, man. I'm gonna stop beating around the bush and get straight to the tush. You know what I'm talking about? Bro, we got media credentials. You know what I'm saying? I don't even matter what fight. But we got media credentials, chat. We ain't get it off of riding somebody else's coattails. We ain't get it off of getting somebody else's advice to get our foot in the door. We got it off a straight hustle, off the muscle, man. You know what I'm saying? Coming from the ground up. We build it and we're recognized as a boxing channel. I mean, we're already recognized, you know what I'm saying? Get the love, but we're recognized by others, promotional companies and in the boxing space straight off of our strength, man. So shout out to I gotta tell y'all what it is too. So next week, like I just said, Jonas Tellis is fighting the Bass Barral. They're fighting in Orlando, Creve Royale. And shout out to MVP, man. MVP, they done hit your boy with media credentials, man. So we might be going to the fight. You feel me? Good Lord willing, as long as everything goes accordingly. I gotta find somebody to watch my dog and all that good stuff. But you know what I'm saying? If you can make it out there, come chop it up with your boy in Orlando, man. So yeah, man. That's why I say, man, hard work still works. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people think like, oh, you have to do this or you have to fraternize with this group of people or you have to network with this. Networking is awesome. But you shouldn't have to use somebody, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with taking the slow stroll. We've been on the slow stroll and it's working out, you know what I'm saying? So when you have faith and you have and you have the dedication to something, you really want something, you're gonna get it, man. So just stick with the faith and stick with the hard work, man. I'm not doing this for nothing, man. You know, I'm not where I want to be yet, but we gonna get there. So shout out to the Dr. Boxing Talk family, you know what I'm saying? Boxing Talk family. Appreciate y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? Turning up for the videos, liking the videos, joining the live streams, hitting the Cash App, you know what I'm saying, becoming a member, man. Really, hey, all that really keeps going for me chasing my dream. Hey, shout out to Ed. He said, congratulations, man. Thank you, bro. Congratulations. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. He said, you're going to be in Orlando what day? Next week, bro. Next week. The 23rd is the fight. So, you know what I'm saying? So that was a perfect segue when you brought up the interim champions and stuff like that. Hey, Jonas Tellis, who's a WBA interim champion, he's fighting on that card. So I'm gonna be in that thing, man. Good Lord willing. So there's a lot of things I got to check out, but yeah, man. Shout out to MVP Promotions, man. You know what I'm talking about? We got media credentials off the strength, man. I ain't have to holler at nobody. I ain't have to, you know what I'm saying? You know who I'm talking about, man. You see the people out there, man. They be trying to be under the arm of the. I'm not knocking nobody. You know what I'm saying? Do what you do, but I'd rather get it out the mud because I ain't got to worry about somebody over there not liking me. I ain't got to worry about that content creator not liking me. I do it. You ain't got to like me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be here, baby. You know what I'm talking about? As long as God permits. So yeah, I was really happy about that, man. So yes, sir. I'm gonna put an announcement for those that ain't make the live stream. But yeah, we should be there, man. So if y'all could make it out to the fight, that'd be dope, man. We do a little meet and greet, man. It's all weekend too. Shout out to 913, man. 913 Boxer in the building. Salutations. Yeah, I leave Orlando on the 20th. That's crazy. That's crazy, Kendrick. Yeah, I'm gonna be there. The 22nd is a Friday. I'm gonna be there Thursday, so we could link up. I'm gonna be there Thursday, good Lord willing, because it's actually a 3-day event for MVP. They got fights on Friday, Saturday, and then Thursday they got like they're gonna have the press conference and stuff. Your boy got credentials for all that. You feel me? All on that. You know what I'm talking about? Shout out to MVP, man. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing though. You know, we don't fake it till we make it. We just make it. You know, I never really shit on Jake Paul. I just said I wish he would fight more people, but I always show Jake Paul love for what he did for the women's boxing and stuff like that, and what he's doing for the popularity and promotion of boxing. So you know what I'm saying? Shout out to MVP, man. I might go get me a hat. You feel me? But yeah, man. So shoot, we might have to link up with you, Kendrick. I'll keep you posted, man. But yeah, so speaking of the fight, that fight is next week. But this week, I want to get back on the fights this weekend, man. There is a fight tomorrow as well on Pro Box. That's also in Florida. We have who's fighting tomorrow? Who is fighting tomorrow? I forgot. Willie Foster. Willie Foster's fighting tomorrow against Muhammad. That's why I couldn't remember his name. Muhammad Kuja Yakbov. Going against Willie Foster, man. It's good to see Willie Foster back in the mix, man. Willie Foster the third. I like Willie Foster. Got to see more about. Got to see it back. I'm trying to see when's the last time he fought. You know, I don't remember the last time he fought, but it's been a little minute, I think. I know he fought earlier this year. He fought Benitez. Did I see that fight? I don't know if I saw that fight. I fought in Maryland live because I don't know if I saw that fight. But yeah, so it's good to see him back. You know, he has 2 L's, but they're both to decision. And one was a majority decision to Henry LeBron. His other L is to Erison Garcia. But he has a good split decision win over Edwin De Los Santos. So he's a decent fighter, man. You know, so I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how he does against Yakubov. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. But yeah, his best win is De Los Santos by a decision, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing him. But I didn't know he fought earlier this year. I'm trying to think if I saw that fight. I don't remember. But so he's not that inactive. I thought he ever hasn't fought in a minute. And then on Saturday too, in addition to the Dillian Whyte versus Moses Itauma, we have RG Cortez and Baron Rodriguez on ESPN Deportes. So, but like I said, man, this weekend's not too big of a fight. I'm excited for it because I want to see how Moses Itauma does against Dillian Whyte. Like I said, I'm giving Dillian Whyte a good little chance. But I got Moses Itauma in 5. I think Dillian Whyte's gonna put on a good showing for himself with trainer Buddy McGirt. Can't go wrong, Hall of Fame trainer Buddy McGirt. But I think Moses Itauma is going to be too young, too strong for him, and we'll see. But, you know, they have some questions about Moses Itauma's chin, man. There's been some rumors about him getting, you know what I'm saying, a little wobble, a little shaky baby in the gym, man. There's nothing wrong with that, man. People get hurt in the gym and sparring all the time, but if Dillian Whyte could check that chin, hey, we know he put Derek Chisora on his back. We know Dillian Whyte got put on his back a couple times by, like, AJ and stuff like that, too, but Dillian Whyte might come with it, so we'll see, man. It's a good little test for Moses Itauma. And then, of course, we got the Nick Ball versus Sam Goodman. I'm sorry, I'm not excited for that fight at all. Nick Ball is getting away with defending his 126 featherweight championship against another guy who campaigns at bantamweight, super bantamweight, 122. So now, not only did he bring up TJ Doheny off of a knockout stoppage loss to Nye Inoue, not knockout, but stoppage loss. He's bringing up Sam Goodman, back-to-back super bantamweight. So no one's saying nothing. We gonna say something. I think Nick Ball needs to step up, and his last couple opponents have been trash.
Know your fucking place, trash.
And no disrespect to Sam Goodman, but you know, we make a big deal when other fighters fight guys from smaller divisions or bring them up. So Nick Ball, this is just getting old. I know he wants Nye Inoue, cool, but I'm gonna need you to go fight Angelo Leo, the IBF featherweight champion. I'm gonna need you to go fight Rafael Espinosa, the WBO featherweight champion, or fight Stephen Coolboy Fulton, the WBC featherweight champion, or fight somebody in your division, you know what I'm saying, that's in your rankings. You know, I understand you're trying to get the Nick Ball, the Nye Inoue fight, so you're fighting TJ Doheny, who has, now you have a commonality of opponents with Nye Inoue, and then you fight Sam Goodman, a guy that was supposed to fight Nye Inoue. And I know Sam Goodman been up to featherweight before, but I don't care, man. This fight is trash. But I have Nick Ball winning anyway, against the undefeated Aussie Australian fighter. And then of course Ray Ford versus Abraham Nova. I have Ray Ford just because Abraham Nova's a short notice fight, but I'm rooting for Abraham Nova, man. I like Ray Ford, don't get me wrong, I think Ray Ford's gonna win, but I like Abraham Nova, man. I feel like he's been on the short end of some pretty rough decisions. I definitely thought he beat Andre Cortez, the Golden Boy fighter. I thought he was definitely robbed there. Now you can say he had a good fight with Oshiki Foster. I thought the right person won, but that was a close fight. But you know, if I'm him, I probably feel I'm not mad at him if he feels like he lost some fights he should have won. Yeah, he definitely should have beat Cortez. So because of that and the fact that he's stepping up on late notice to replace a scary Anthony Kakasi who's ducking. You know what I'm saying? Anthony Kakasi's a duck. I don't care what nobody says. So yeah, Anthony Kakasi, man, he's weak for that. But Abram Nova, shout out to him for stepping up. But I just think it's gonna be too much of that's too much to ask. You know what I'm saying? A late notice to fight Ray Savage Ford. I got Ray Ford winning by unanimous decision though. I don't think he's gonna stop him. But he might. You never know. You never know, man. I think he been stopped one time, right? By like Robisi Ramirez or something. If I'm not mistaken, I think Abram Nova has been stopped one time. Only, and that was to Robisi Ramirez. Robisi Ramirez, that's a hell of a puncher right there. So ain't no shame in that. Yeah, he been stopped one time. I'm a beast. Yeah, it was Robisi Ramirez. So I'm not too mad at that. You know, he had a split decision loss to Foster, like I said. Andre Cortez, he had a unanimous decision loss. I think he got robbed. That was a bad one. That was robbery. So and then after that he had a draw with Humberto Galindo. So yeah, I'm gonna be mad that Abram Nova wins, but I think it's gonna be too much for him. I have Ray Ford winning by UD. Next up we have, what's the other fight we have? Philip Hrgovic and David Adeleye. I'm rooting for David Adeleye, but Philip Hrgovic is a veteran, man. He's been in there with a better competition. I think Philip Hrgovic, I'm leaning towards Philip Hrgovic, but David Adeleye is a big puncher now. You know, he's a big puncher. He's a younger guy. I just think Philip Hrgovic's experience is going to be a little too much, man. So I have Philip Hrgovic winning this one as well. But we'll see, though, man. Well, he said, Mr. Grady said Nick Ball need to run it back with Ford. See, I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at that. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be mad at him running it back with Ford. But remember, Ford he stayed at featherweight a little bit too long. Remember, I think that's why he lost, because he was a little drained. Not to give him an excuse. That's a great win for Nick Ball. That's the one I like for Nick Ball, you know. I give him credit for that. But the fact still remains that, you know, you could argue that maybe he would have lost if Ray Ford was 100%, you know what I'm saying? And you got, like, some people had Ray Ford winning. I thought it was a close fight, could have went either way. You know, I'm not mad at Nick Ball getting that victory against Ray Ford, but it was a close fight, and I wouldn't be mad at the run back, but I don't think it can't be at featherweight. It'll have to be at 130. You see what I'm saying? And so David Adeleye, man, like I said, Philip Hrgovic, I'm going with Philip Hrgovic. Could David Adeleye win? Yeah, he's a big puncher. It's heavyweight, but he has one loss to Fabio Worley. No shame in that. He's a big puncher as well. It's heavyweight division. But considering that, I'm leaning towards Philip Hrgovic, man. But I'm rooting for David Adeleye, though. But we'll see. He said, I know y'all have done the same thing for certain fighters. Don't lie. What you talking about, Pill Out? When you get out the gulag. He said, Pill Out was in the gulag? What did he say? He said I'm two-faced because I be a Boots fan on other videos, but I be trolling on here to make it seem like I don't mind. I be, hey, man, that's a good boxing conversation, bro. I don't care if you like Boots or not. It's good talks, you know. I'm gonna just check you on it when you say some nonsense. You know, hey, we all like certifiers, don't like certifiers. He said, I know y'all. Wait, I read that. He said, Nova and his mascot always make me laugh. Yeah, facts, bro. I like his mascot. I think that's dope, man. I think that's dope. But chat, man, it's gonna be a short video. Like I said, my food is here too, so I'm gonna go grab my food, man. Appreciate y'all rocking. Don't forget to smack that like button. And like I said, man, we in there, man. If anybody could pop out to that MVP fight next week, man, let's get it, man. So shout out to y'all for the support. Media credentials off the muscle, baby. We ain't got to try to be friends with anybody or rub elbows with anybody, man. We get it off the muscle, man. It might be the slow stroll, but the slow stroll better than no stroll. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, slow money better than no money. You know what I'm talking about? And all money ain't good money. You feel me? So all these people out here riding people coattails, nah, bro. We gonna get it out the mud because God got us. But I appreciate y'all rocking as always, man. Don't forget to smack that like button if you haven't done so already. I don't know why you haven't, but most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold, we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.